Hello again, everyone. I'm Tim Singer. Welcome to another edition of Winter Speed. We come to you once again this week from Mount Van Hoevenberg in Lake Placid, New York, where coming up we have the four-man U.S. National Bobsled Championships. Also on this week's program, an in-depth, rare interview with Brent Rushlaw, U.S. bobsledder and four-time Olympian. As well, we've got our weekly feature on Lake Placid gearing up for the 10th anniversary of the 1980 Olympics. All that coming up this week, so stay with us on Winter Speed.
Winter Speed is being brought to you by the U.S. Postal
Four-man bobsledding championships. Hello, everyone. I'm Tim Singer along with John Morgan. John, midway now between two Olympics. Excitement, though, always building in bobsled here in Placid.
Always on this track especially. It's one of the most famous speed tracks of the world, and we're going to see some great speeds today, Tim. No doubt the great athletes are here for the United States, a great upcoming program, and I think you're going to see a lot of excitement.
One or two guys to look out for?
The four-time Olympian Brent Rushlaw, the old dog, he's still here. Bob Horvath, somebody you can expect some good times out of. Matt Roy from Saranac Lake, the Olympian from 1988 in Calgary. Chuck Leonowicz from Schenectady. So there's a real competitive field here, but I think most impressively, Timmy, what to look at here today is that this track has been redone over. So we are going to have unofficial track records in practice. There are going to be official track records today. Temperatures are absolutely perfect for the race.
Scary moment during Heat 1 of the four-man. Brian Scheimer of Naples, Florida, the national two-man champion driver, began his opening heat with a 4:99 start, the fastest push of the day. But by turn 12, the sled had accelerated out of control, tipping and sliding on its side the rest of the way down. The team was finished for the day, but thankfully also out of danger.
When we went into 12, where we flipped over, I felt the bump. I knew that we were in trouble. And as we were going into 12, I felt the sled change directions and stay a little bit longer than it should have.
Results heading into the second heat. Matt Roy, the 1988 Olympian, with a 0.3 of a second lead over Chuck Leonowicz. Bob Horvath is in third, another 9/100ths of a second back. Four-time Olympian Brent Rushlaw is in fourth. Heat number 2 of the four-man national championships coming up right after this.
Express mail from your post office has a whole fleet of 727.
We deliver.
Of Saranac Lake, New York, and his crew with Hal Hoy, Steve Mayorka, and Steve Terry, fourth place after the first heat.
Well, Brent's driving abilities speak for themselves. The start time is what he's concerned about here. He's got to get down in the 5:10 or below like the other sleds in front of him. He had 5:17 in the first heat. Let's see what they can gather up here in the second heat. A 5:15, a little bit better. Now let's watch him here in the exit. Not a bad little skid there. I don't think that'll cost him too much. Let's watch the feet here of the competitors. Once Brent gets out of the way, we'll watch the two side guys to see how consistent that their feet are coming down together, and they are. That's pretty good for a team that's not that experienced with riding with each other.
And they say when Rushlaw gets a good start, he's good the whole ride. 27:22 the first split time, 15/100ths better than his first run.
Well, and he's a little low and shady. I didn't like that, but he's clean as a whistle as he comes down here into the little S. This is where Brent Rushlaw starts the motor. You're at a 12. The next split, 44.26. Faster. Ooh, little skid and zig with light spray there. That's going to cost him. Pounds hard out of 15. Right here. Ooh, watch out for Brent, but he's straight here.
He has that ability to straighten out his sled right away.
And finish time, 55.68.
So that's better than Brent Rushlaw's first run. Not quite as good as the time he'd like to have to move his way up in the standings, but the first sled down, Rushlaw leading the way right now. As we get ready for the next sled, Michael Parliament of Chattanooga, joined by Richard Snedeker, Tracy Ellis, and Philip Garrison, well back in the pack. Impressive-looking sled.
Well, there's a little history to that sled. That's a Swiss Hans Hillebrand sled that he sold to Brent Rushlaw in '83. Rushlaw used it in the '84 Olympics, as Jeff Jost used the Hillebrand sled also in the '84 Olympics. Start time here, though, it's very important to have a good start. He's got a very inexperienced crew. He hit the wall there, 5.38 start. Boy, is that going to multiply to him on the way down. And watch. Very inexperienced crew. Look at the guy on the left looking to where he's going to run, and that's not the way to start a bobsled. Inexperience at the start, and it's going to really, really show down here at the bottom, Timmy.
Now, we talked about the importance of aerodynamics in this sport as we check out the split time for Michael Parliament's team, 28:11, considerably in back. What needs to be done to pick up that speed?
You can't pick up any more speed. He's hitting the walls here. All you can do is take your start time, the forces of gravity, and you start off with a record time, and you erase time on the way down like he's doing here. Here's his next split time. Ooh, not very good, 45.77. Pretty good zigzag. He didn't cut a lot of ice. Here he is in the 15, a little high on the outlet.
Parliament, one of that many group of drivers, not quite at the top of the nation class yet, but making their way up as the final time of 57.53. Second best time so far on the second sled down in this final heat, but really not quite a world-class time. Up next, 57-year-old Skip Reynolds and his crew of Sean Currier, DJ Belzil, and Pete Carson, all from Willsboro, New York. John, Skip Reynolds epitomizes what the love of bobsledding is all about.
And what the sport used to be. They won't have any kind of start time. They're going to have all the problems just getting in the sled and sitting down. But this is the way people used to compete when I was a competitor. A lot of guys just wanted to come up for a Sunday drive on the bobsled run. And he won't be fast, but he always gets to the bottom. Now look at the way they're getting in here and pushing. So this is what the sport used to be, and it's a great comparison because bobsledding for years in the United States was just, let's go up and have a good time up on the track.
But the interesting thing these days is for Skippy Reynolds, it's not just a Sunday ride. We were up here during practice all week long, and although he knows he's not up with the leaders, he's as determined as any driver.
And he loves it. He's like anybody else. Look at how straight he is here. No doubt about it. He knows how to drive the sled, which the sport used to be, just all the driving and the sled techniques, but no starts. But as you can see here, he gets down the bottom, no ice spray, zigzag, hits a little bit hard there, 15. Ooh, a little bit drives it off that corner there, but he's straight. So he knows how to drive the sled, no doubt about it.
As you said, that's so important just to prevent any danger. Skippy Reynolds, a great athlete, good tennis player, in tremendous shape for his age of 57, and through and down safely on the bobsled run. Now for a break in the action with our weekly feature on the worldwide sponsor of the 1992 Olympic Games, the U.S. Postal Service. Brian Liturgis and John Layden finished in the middle of the pack in the first heat.
Well, Bruce is 4 years into driving four-man bobsleds, did pretty good at the 88 Olympic trials, but he needs a start time, and the start time there, 5.24, doesn't match up with the best starts, and he's got a skid there. Again, when you can't start the sled in bobsledding, it's like teeing off on a par 5 with an 8-iron. You just add a, you can get to the green in 4 shots. Here in bobsledding, he cannot make any mistakes at all on the way down, and as you can see, as he comes out of this first corner, he gets a little bit of a skid. So the start hurts Bruce Roselli.
27.51 at the first split time as we watch their driving around and through Shady.
And he's got a little bit of a skid going, but he straightened it up pretty good little less. He's a pretty good pilot. And again, I think he'd be much more competitive with a start time. Ooh, a little late there out of 12. Zigzag, little spray and zig. Little high and zag, he drove it off. That's going to cost him. Real high in 15. Bruce Roselli coming to the finish time.
At 56.06 through the finish. So Bruce Roselli is through and down. We'll be back with more bobsled action right after this. U.S. Four-Man National Bobsled Championships. Now at the start line, the most pleasant surprise of the first heat, Chuck Leonowitz of Clifton Park, New York, Chris Green, Todd Snavely, and Chris Hargett, second place after one heat.
They also had the second best start time of 5:06. So, as I've been saying all along, the guy with the best start is usually the best guy at the bottom. So, let's watch for the start time here. 4 very good, promising athletes for the United States right here.
Into the sled well.
5:05 start,
Great
so 100
start.
better. But oh, he banged there and he's skidding down across the ice. Friction is not a good thing to have in bobsledding. I don't like Chuck here with his head going back and forth, back and forth. That's something he's going to have to correct to get a better start. But, boy, there's some pretty good athletes behind him.
Not much has been heard in the past from Chuck Leonowitz, but he's making a name of himself rather quickly as his first split time shows a 27:16 best time of the heat.
Yeah, he's 600ths ahead of Rushlaw, and he's got it pretty straight. A little bit of a nick there. The next split time up is Rushlaw's 44:26 time. Here comes Chuck out of the S corner. Looks pretty good at 12. Not bad. His split time is faster, 44:17. Good zig, good zag. Oh, he drove it off the zag hard, but no ice spray. A little late off 15. Finish time of 55.68 is Rushlaw's time. Leonowitz, 55.55. That puts him in first place, Timmy.
4 5s and a good run by Chuck Leonowitz. Second after the first heat, moves himself into first place in the second heat with the leader, Matt Roy, still ahead. But next up will be Chuck Mitchell of Peru, New York. Mitchell and his crew of Matt Hickey, Jeff Peak, and John Parks a little bit back in the pack after the first heat.
Well, they're back in the pack because they can't start the sled, that old nemesis. And again, Charlie Mitchell, I think, is a very good athlete. And we're going, oh, there's a slip there by the number 2 man. That's going to cost him. And again, inexperience at the start reflects that with the guy slipping and the start time of 5.42. You can see in the replay. Now, watch the guy with the stars and stripes on his helmet there. That's an old 76 Olympic team helmet. I know that. And here's Charlie in the sled first, but watch the guy on the right. What happens? Jumps in and slips off. That's inexperience at the start, and that'll be reflected at the next split time.
That split time, 28:10, John, in a sport where hundredths of a second means so much.
Well, again, Charlie's a good athlete, and this sled's motoring. It's coming down very straight into a little less corner. Oh, a little late there, and he's flopping around a little bit there. You can see. Out of 12, he's okay. Watch for the spray and zig. Very good zig. No ice spray. There's some spray there and zag. He cut too much ice and zag. A little late out of 15. He drove it off, but he corrects himself very nicely. Through the finish corner and down.
And a time of 57:44 for the sled of Charlie Mitchell. And that sets up the veteran at the top of the hill at the start line, Bob Horvath. Bob was in third place with his crew after the first heat. His crew consisting of Carlos Kirby, Tom Hatton, and Rob Dickerman. Third place after the first run. They're aiming right now at Chuck Leonowitz, who's leading the way so far in the second heat.
Yeah, they're only about 8 or 10 hundredths behind Leonowitz, and they had a pretty comparable start time. Only 4 hundredths off Leonowitz the first heat. Let's watch for him here in the second heat. 5:05 is Leonowitz, 5:14. So Horvath's already in some trouble. And we'll see here at the start. Leonowitz improved himself by 100th. And Horvath here goes from a 5:10 in the first heat to 5:14. But it's very good foot movement by the number 2 and 3 guys. They get on together, they get down good, but they did not improve like Chuck Leonowitz. Let's watch for the split time. 27:16 is Chuck Leonowitz's split time.
27:29 for Horvath. So a little bit behind right now as they go in and out of Shady.
But look how straight the sled's coming at us. This is the experience of the 42-year-old pilot from Youngstown, Ohio. The next split coming up is 44:17 we're looking for. Horvath, 44:30, but a pretty good zigzag here. Bounces, now into 15, very nice. Oh, there's a skid. That's going to cost him some time.
And as they approach the final turn and towards the finish, the time for Bob Horvath, 55:60. That puts him in second place with the first heat leader, Matt Roy, still ahead. Sure, these guys are thrill seekers and daredevils, but they're also athletes, and bobsledding takes a lot of physical training and physical strength, and there's also some physical dangers involved. Dr. Glenn Rasmussen works in sports medicine in Lake Placid.
The key thing we notice with these bobsled athletes is that not only in the start of the race where they have to move these 500-pound sleds around, it causes a lot of torsion on their back. You'll notice when they lift the sleds, they have to bend over, and it puts a lot of pressure on the spinal disc and the posterior spinal muscles. Then when they push off the track and head down the track to corners like Shady, they're going through excessive forces to over 1,000 pounds per square inch, which means about 4 Gs through some of these turns. Theoretically, at about 800 pounds per square inch with cadaver studies, the disc should rupture, but because the athletes are fairly well conditioned and they wear these kidney belts and they strain down, they can prevent any rupture of the spinal discs. One of the key things in the end of the track is the deceleration as well, and the lateral decelerations when they hit the wall if they do have a bad run. The main thing I notice with these bobsledders is that they have to be in tremendous physical condition to prevent any possible spinal or other joint injuries.
Okay, back to the action, and Darren Peterson, one of the newcomers to the sport from Elk River, Minnesota, his crew consisting of Pat Brown, Sal Polarfield, and Les Sandegard.
Well, the start is, we keep mentioning it, their start time, this time 5.30. That's a little bit better than their first heat time. But again, it's so important, especially for a new pilot, to bring 4 athletes into the sport and get a great start, because that's going to give you the better times at the bottom.
Peterson, a big man, excuse me, John. How important is size in this sport?
Well, size, I think 6'1", 190 pounds is what you want. Again, it's a maximum weight, 1,387 pounds with the crew and the sled, so the bigger the guy, the lesser the weight in the sled.
27.74 on the split time. Not a bad time for Darren Peterson.
But look how straight he is here. I like that for the rookie pilot like he is. Ooh, a little late there, though, and oh, the sled's flopping around. Let's watch him here, a little danger. He flops it down there, loses something off his sled. High and zag, cutting some ice. Little skid there, watch out here in 15. Whoa! Boy, did he yarn it off 15. You could see the trouble he had. He's very thankful just to be at the bottom here. Whoa, what a trip for Darren Peterson.
Not a bad recovery as Peterson comes out at 56.59. That will put him in 6th place with the top rider still to go. And at the start right now is Matt Roy. Roy in 1st place following the first heat. The 1988 Olympian and former World Cup champion with his crew.
And they had a good start time. They had a great bottom time. So here's a guy with a lot of experience in the front of the sled with an average start time behind him. Time 5:10. Now that's 500ths off Leonowitz. Pretty straight there. And again, he can make up for it because he's a great pilot. Now let's look at the legs. Look at the feet. Let's see the consistency of the guys from the left and the right. Scott Podell on the left, the veteran that rode with him in Calgary. He's the taller of the guys. He's looking to get it. He's running too far there, though. I don't know why he's doing that. 5:10, pretty good start.
Now we check the first split, 27.19, 3 100ths in back of Leonowitz. Roy will have to make up that time down at the bottom of the hill.
Pretty straight there, a little bit of a skid. This is where the sled starts to go ballistic here, right before a little less. Now the time we're looking for is Leonowitz 44.17. Matt Roy's time 44.15. So Roy is really coming onto the bottom.
The man knows the mountain. Matt Roy, an experienced Lake Placid native, knows Mount Van Hovenberg.
Nice exit out of 15. He's got the sled motoring. Through and down.
55.28, John, so he made up some great time at the bottom. Matt Roy holds on to his lead by a good amount over Chuck Leonowitz as the second heat comes to an end. Bob Horvath, as you see, in 3rd place. Brent Rushlaw maintains 4th, and then Ron Horvath in 5th place. The back 5 led by Bruce Roselli and the rest as we get set for the 3rd and final heat of the U.S. National 4-Man Bobsled Championships. Don't go away. 100th anniversary, the 2-man World Championships, and a couple of countrymen, Gustav Wieder and Bruno Gerber, take the gold medal. Wolfgang Hoppe, well-known driver from East Germany, finished 3rd. For the North Americans, a great finish by Canadian Greg Haydenluck, 7th place. Chris Laurie in 10th, while American Brian Scheimer of Florida finished in 12th, and 1988 Olympian Matt Roy was in 15th, as the sleds get ready for next week's 4-man World Championships. More winter speed, this on the Oval. The Women's World Cup Speed Skating Tour stopped in Lake.
Sponsor of the 1992 Olympic Games by the Lawrence Group. We're here to help with all of your personal
Trips as we get set for the start of veteran driver Brent Rushlaw. Brent, a member of the Old Guard from nearby Saranac Lake, New York. He's been accused of many things, being a non-athlete or too fat, too controversial for the sport. Whatever the criticism, he emerges each Olympics a world-class driver with a world-class love for the sport. 2 years later, folks still talk about the 2 100ths of a second. A snap of the finger, a wink of the eye, 2 100ths. The margin in which the Americans lost out of an Olympic medal in Calgary. The Soviets beat out USA sled number 1 and driver Brent Rushlaw on the final run of the competition.
Well, I was a little disappointed, but happy at the same time. The 4th place finish opened some avenues for me as far as financial support, and hopefully in the upcoming Olympics these doors will help me to maybe pursue a medal.
A next Olympics, this from a 39-year-old bobsledding veteran who's already been to 4 Olympics. The 4th place in Calgary was Rushlaw's Olympic best. To win a medal in '92, he'll need to
put a good crew together and keep them together through '92, and hopefully they'll be here next year and we can start getting the ball rolling towards '92.
Indeed a legend in winter sports and recognized as one of the top bobsled drivers in the world, Thing is, none of this matters to Rushlaw. A quiet man who shies away from the media and the limelight, Rushlaw is a throwback to the early days of the sport. Medals just don't mean as much as a good run down the track.
It's like being addicted to something, I think. It's a natural high. I've just grown to like it.
And there he is right now at the start. Brent Rushlaw, along with Hal Hoy, Steve Majorca, and Steve Terry, 4th place, following 2 heats.
And you're off. On the straightaway
Well, the
to the
four-time
first turn.
Olympian has been lacking at the start, and there's his start time of 5.20 compared to 5:15 and 5:17 in the first 2 heats. That's not what you want. And again, you cannot make any mistakes down here. And let's watch the heads moving. Let's watch the feet. Let's watch the entry into the sled. Cat-like movements as the teams get on those little spots for their feet. And then they got to enter without pushing the sled back and forth. That causes friction. Pretty good entry, not a very good start time.
27:42 split time, of course, tough to tell as the first sled of the final heat, but not good compared to the last heat.
Well, let's watch the veteran come down. This track, he owns this track over the last decade, but his start time here is starting to really put him behind the pace. Watch the ice spray and zig. No ice spray and zig. There's a lot of spray and zag, and that's going to cost him some time. A little late on the outlet. He's got it pretty straight into the finish corner. You see him playing with it as he gets on and off. In a total time of 56.04. Good enough for first place, Tim.
56.04 as Rushlaw leads the way. Many call him one of the greatest drivers in the world, and he's in front right now as we get set for our next sled. That's Bruce Roselli, Clay Harrison, Brian Liturgis, and John Layden, 6th place following the second heat.
Well, from Terre Haute, Indiana, he's got Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the nose of his sled. And again, Bruce has been suffering up to the top, too. That's why he's in 6th place. I think he's a very good pilot. I think he needs a start time down in the teens to be competitive. Here's his start time, 5.28. A little bit of skid there. That's going to cost him, too.
Taking a look at that replay, John, they all seem to be uniform in getting in that sled.
Well, getting in is one thing, but legging it out before you get in is the most important thing. The guy on the right's looking just to get in, and that's probably the inexperience in the crew. You need some guys that know how to start, know how to enter the sled. You need some pretty good bobsled athletes behind you.
27:50, the split time for Bruce Roselli, one of a handful of drivers up and coming in this sport.
Well, look how clean he is. He had a great shading. He's got this sled straight as an arrow in the S. He didn't have a very good first heat driving. I think he's coming on here. Real smooth here. Pretty good exit time there. 27:50, 44:63. Oh, watch out here in the
Little
outlet.
sideways run back and forth.
Bruce, near disaster up in 15 for Bruce Roselli. Boy, did he get lucky in that one. 56.01. He could have been sub 56 with any kind of correction up in 15, Tim.
Still, that's third heat time, better than Brent Rushlaw's, although he will not be able to push ahead of Brent in overall time. Roselli in second place right now, and now at the top, Darren Peterson and his crew. Peterson, of course, had that shaky second heat, John.
Well, shaky first heat in 15, shaky second heat in 15. He's an inexperienced new pilot, and he's little problems up here at the start. He's a big man. Again, if you can't start the sled, you really can't make any mistakes down below, and he doesn't have enough experience to get away from that.
5.30 on the start for Darren Peterson.
Pretty good exit out of curve one. I'll give him credit there, but let's watch the guys pushing, or are they looking to get in the sled here? You should never look to jump in the sled. You should just naturally jump in. The guy on the right, look at him. He's just looking to jump in. See? That is why you get start times of 5.30.
Well, John, while we have this opportunity, what is the role of the pushers once they're in that sled?
Well, they're upper runner pressure, like right here in Shady. They want to push the sled down if it comes off on two runners. So they aren't sandbags. They have a lot to do with on and off the corners, the exit as we call it. And right here, watch the sled flop down. Right here, upper runner pressure for the rider to flop it down. Looking to zigzag. And here it is right here. Watch it. Ooh, a little high there. This is where he had his problems in 15 last heat. Nice there, though.
Good recovery.
Into the finish corner. Through and down in a time 56:53. Not bad for Darren Peterson.
7th place after the second heat. Third sled down here in the third heat. Darren Peterson, a good showing in his first ever U.S. National Championship. Now back at the start, Charlie Mitchell, Matt Hickey, Jeff Peake, and John Parks in their first ever championship as well. Another one of the young guard of bobsled drivers.
Yeah, and what I like about Charlie Mitchell, again, he's a good athlete. He's a cyclist in the summertime, really, really concerned about his athletic abilities, and his start times, not very good there, but I think Charlie Mitchell's somebody that we're going to see a lot of in the future.
5:44 on the start time, John.
Well, again, it's not important for him to really get the tremendous start times until he finds the 3 athletes behind him that really want to commit themselves to the sport. What important is now is Charlie to get trip after trip after trip and to gain confidence in his driving abilities, because once you get that confidence driving, then you can motor down the track and the speeds that you need to be competitive.
Well, as far as commitment, 2 of his 3 riders are from nearby Plattsburgh, New York, as Charlie Mitchell is, so they're close. They have that chance to practice.
Oh, yeah, practice in the summertime, and boy, as a crew, you really got to eat, sleep, and drink together, and boy, you had a lot of problems right there. Little late and zag, but that happened way up in 15.
Forth.
Charlie Mitchell had his hands full from 12 down, and I think his crew there might have saved him out of 12 because he was real late, but he's throwing down at the bottom, and that's the most important element now.
A time of 58:83 for Charlie Mitchell, and now back up to the top. And the next crew of drivers, Michael Parliament, Richard Snedeker, Tracy Ellis, and Philip Garrison, they were in 9th place following the second heat.
Well, the Chattanooga Bobsled Club, the Southern connection in the sport. Michael's brought these couple guys up from the South, and they're inexperienced. Look at the guy on the left. You can tell he's not pushing. He's just trying to get in the sled, and that's no fault of his. This is his first national championships, and the sport's pretty new to him.
5:29 on the start. John, not bad for the youngsters.
Not bad, but Mike just made a major mistake there out of the start, and that's going to hurt him in the split time. But watch the guy on the left. See? He's looking ahead. He shouldn't be doing that. He should be looking down. Not bad for a 5:29, though, considering the inexperience of the crew.
So coming out into turn 8, and it's a just over 28 on the split time. Still moving along pretty well as they're learning this track.
And watch him coming down here. Boy, he's moving his head around a lot, and sled's moving around with him. He's got something dragging there. Looks like some duct tape in the back. Oh, and he's got some problems here. Corrects himself fine. Let's watch the spray and zig. Not bad. Zag up high a little bit. No spray. Pretty good. Watch out here in the outlet. There's a lot of ice spray, which means he was really pulling the ropes to get off. Into the finish corners, Mike Parliament, Chattanooga Bobsled Club, through and down.
And these guys are at the stage in their careers where they're trying to best figure out how they get out of the bumps and straighten out their sleds. Some good showings by some of the young sleds there, and we'll be back with the sleds that count, the leaders, coming up right after this.
Hi, I'm
1980 Winter Olympics, and we're at Mount Van Hoevenberg for the U.S. National 4-Man Bobsled Championships. Standing right now in the ever-popular zigzag corner here at Mount Van Hoevenberg, a turn, John Morgan, which in your storied career you have taken both the right way and the wrong way.
Yeah, since the inception of this track in 1932, this has been definitely what the bobsledders talk the most about. A 90-degree right, a 90-degree left at 75 miles an hour. The change of direction is so fast, nothing that you've ever done in your life can experience this.
Okay, well, we'll try to experience it right now with our viewers with a musical look at zigzag, largely consisting of the wrong way to go through it. And we're down to the final 3 sleds of the final heat, and the 3 leaders following the 2 heats. In third place, Bob Horvath, the 42-year-old veteran from Youngstown, Ohio, trying to make his move along with his crew of Carlos Kirby, Tom Hatton, and Rob Dickerman.
The main problem is the start now for the older guys. As we get older, the legs go away. So the young, hard-pushing drivers are having a little bit of advantage, but we're going to try to catch them today.
The 42-year-old Horvath alluding to how age affects performance. With his final run, John, can he still catch the leaders?
Yeah, Leonowitz has got a pretty good lead on him as of the second heat, but you never know here. Things could happen, as we saw with Brian Scheimer in the first heat. So Horvath, a very experienced pilot. Start time, not what he wants.
5:16, John.
And that puts him at a detriment there, because we know 5:05 is what Leonowitz had. Now watch him push here. Now let's watch for these guys. You can see their heads are down. They're pushing. Unlike the team in front we just saw at Parliament. These guys all got on together. That was a nice last step, but I thought they'd get it better than a 5:16 start.
It did look like the number 3 man possibly a little slow, as their first split time shows a 27:34.
Well, Rushlaw had the best start or split time. They're 27:42. He's ahead of Rushlaw. The next split time is going to be Brent's at 44.61. Let's see if Horvath can beat him.
Hopping back and
he's got
forth
some problems there. And he comes out 44.50, so he's moving.
Despite the problems, they have the fastest split time.
And here he is out of 15. Not too bad there. He had problems there last time. He's pretty straight coming into the finish corner here. Bob Horvath threw one down at a time of 56.02.
2 100ths of a second better than Rushlaw, so Horvath pulls into first place with the 2 better sleds, or the 2 sleds with better times ahead of him. We'll see how Horvath holds on, as now up at the top, Chuck Leonowitz, second place after the second heat. His multicolored crew getting set to make their move.
Well, their 5:05 start time in the second heat was very impressive. And again, the start gives them a big advantage here. They're all on the sled early. Look how quick they get in that sled. Very different than the rest of the people. 5:08 start time.
Another terrific start for Leonowitz.
And he's got some skill. The push bar still out, just went down. Let's watch how quick they get it. Look at the feet. Let's watch this cohesion by this team. Watch, all of a sudden, they're all up there together. Boom, last step together in the sled very early. 5:08, very good start.
John, I must say, of all the newcomers, the Leonowitz team has been the most impressive at these championships. 27:22 on the split time, the best time so far.
Yeah, now let's see the wee motors here down the straightaway. This is where we say the sled becomes ballistic. Almost 75 miles an hour here in Little S. Let's see if there's any problems here in the crossover. Looks real good in 12. He exited 44.33. Good time for Leonowitz.
A tremendous ride as he bangs the wall there.
Little late there at 15. He drove it off a zag, but here he is into the finish corner. Finish time for Chuck Leonowitz of 55.72. Fastest time in this heat.
55.72. Leonowitz leading the way with Roy still to come. He could have done better, possibly, John, with a smoother run at the end. Now up at the start, the final sled, the man of the hour, and the man looking to redeem his career of sorts, Matt Roy, looking for a national championship.
Well, he was a disappointment in Calgary. He was a disappointment earlier this year in the World Cup circuit. In fact, Chuck Leonowitz was bidding him quite a bit. Here's his start time, 5:10.
Third straight heat with the same start time, John.
Well, in bobsledding, consistency and bobsledding go hand in hand. For a team to get 5:10, 5:10, and 5:10 on the start tells you how experienced his crew is. And we know how experienced the pilot is. Matt Roy had a 57/100ths lead going into this heat.
So we'll check out that first split time and see just how well they're doing on the final heat. 27:14. Keep in mind, 56:28 is the time he has to better to win the championship.
And he's got an 800ths lead in the first split. Let's watch the next split. 44.33 is what Leonowitz had. Matt Roy's time 44.09. Boys, he got this sled motor in the bottom.
Driving right down the center of that track.
Matt Roy, 76 miles an hour into the finish corner here. Time 55.23. Matt Roy wins the National Four-Man Championship.
So Roy puts together the best time in each heat as he maintains his lead, wins the U.S. National Four-Man Bobsled Championship. The final results have Matt Roy leading the way ahead of Chuck Leonowitz, Bob Horvath, Brent Rushlaw, and Ron Horvath. Then the back five, led by Bruce Roselli and the others. Final results of the U.S. National Four-Man Bobsled Championships. Back with more, including interviews with the winners, when we return. Placid, and a lot of crazy things have happened at the National Four-Man Championships. First, of course, there was Brian Scheimer, the two-man champ, with his 4.99 start, only to have his sled crash in turn 12. He was out of the competition, but no one on his team was hurt. And how about Matt Roy? He's been in such a slump over the last few years, but he emerges as the national champion and with a bright future ahead. Maybe the brightest future of them all, young Chuck Leonowitz. In his first big year on the circuit, Leonowitz finishes in second place. And then there's Bob Horvath and Brent Rushlaw, both veterans. Rushlaw, the four-time Olympian, with another what has now become a haunting fourth-place finish. But as 1992 approaches, you know you haven't heard the last of Brent. And let's not forget the drivers such as 57-year-old Skippy Reynolds. The Olympics aren't in his future. Doesn't keep him away from the track, though. This guy simply loves the sport. And if you look out for the 91 National Championships, chances are you'll see a 58-year-old Skippy Reynolds enthusiastically sliding down the run. But the man of the hour, Matt Roy, the U.S. national champion, and he's standing by right now with John Morgan.
Matt, you set the record 2 years ago, the record that will never be broke because the track has changed now. Now you own this record. Is the speed the same from 12 down now as it was then?
Well, I tell you, today I couldn't tell any difference. It seems like we're going just as fast.
You think if you're sliding on tracks like Lake Placid, you'd be more competitive all the time than the combo tracks of Europe?
Definitely. I love the Cortina, Trevina, Emirates, Lake Placid. I guess being brought up as it is in Lake Placid really geared me towards those kind of tracks, and Calgary is definitely not my style.
Okay, that's it with the four-man National Bobsled Championships for 1990. Matt Roy and team, congratulations, guys.
Thanks, John.
Okay, I'm with silver medalist of the National Four-Man Championships, driver Chuck Leonowitz, his brakeman, Lieutenant Chris Green. Charles, you're a little bit off the pace compared to Matt. Do you think your sled, you got a brand new sled, you got some runners you're trying out. What's it look like for the next race?
Well, the next race we're going to be turning that sled in and taking the sled that I let Brian use. We're taking that one back to use the next race. I don't believe my sled was tuned for Lake Placid. It just didn't, it handled really well. It went real as fast. You know, we had a lot of driver error out there today, but we broke it.
Our congratulations to Matt Roy, the 1990 U.S. national champion. When we return next week on Winter Speed, we'll have some cross-country skiing for you, as well as snowshoe racing and snowmobile racing. That's right, the Winter Speed continues. Thanks for joining us. I'm Tim Singer.
Winter Speed is being brought to you by the U.S. Postal Service, official worldwide.
Richardson.
Don't change a thing. Don't change a thing.
taking 15. 47.63, 2:15 and straight away to finish turn. They're taking the finish turn. Sliding it. Track is clearly started. Sliding it. Taking 12. So lighting us. To the S-curve. So lighting us. So lighting us. The time, USA 1, Bob Horvath. So lighting it. USA 12. Along straight away to the S-curve. So lighting it.
What's the matter with tap water and safety? Ouch.
They all scary.
That's not bad. They're going slow.
Uh-oh. Oh, yeah?
All right, nice zigzag.
Roger, catch it. It's gonna be quick. You know, give him the push.
So, Coach, I resign. I resign myself to the fact that...
Exactly how much are you being paid for this job?
I don't know, they haven't told me yet. I'll tell you better after the weekend.
Okay.
Get it out there, Sam. Get it out.
Nobody asks where it comes from, but it raised the whole family.
I'll tell you a story in a minute. Wrecker.
It's perfect. Oh, he's a pro.
That's what Tony used to look like going into zigzag every time.
Perfect.
I do a lot with thunder. Get down and do that. You got a 2-passer?
Get up! That's
What do you mean I can't?
36-29, 2:15 on the straightaway to finish turn. So lighting us. Through 7 approaching 8. Taking 8. Taking 7. Through 7 approaching 8. Taking 8. Taking 8. Through 7 approaching 8. Taking 8. Taking 7. Through 7 approaching 8. Taking 8. 8. Taking 8. Two 7 approaching 8. Taking 8. Taking Shady. 28-10. Shoot, Shady and a long taking Shady.
Usa, Madigan coach.
Two Shady and a long straightaway to the S-curve. So lighting it.
Is it true that you've nurtured Darren Peterson to being the driver that he is now?
You betcha. You betcha.
You
He learned everything he could possibly learn from the back end of a four-man.
Very good.